Hey, thanks, Melissa. Well, Barack Obama's economic team already put to work. The president-elect says he'll get their recommendation on whether he should stick with his original plan to raise taxes on wealthy Americans or wait until the end of 2010 to let the Bush tax cuts expire. So the question is really, should Obama abandon his original tax plan? For that, we want to go to David Serrata, syndicated columnist and author of The Uprising, also Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, and Chrystia Freeland. Grover, I'll begin with you. Great to see all of you, by the way. Grover, the president-elect's tax plan calls for raising taxes on those making more than $250K. Is a tax hike appropriate given the state of the economy right now?
Well, the economy's in the present state because when the Democrats took the House and Senate in 2006, you knew that those tax increases were going to come in 2010. The stock market began to collapse as soon as you recognized that those old tax rates were coming back. So we're in the middle of responding to those tax increases.
Grover, Chrystia, would you agree with, I mean, to a certain extent, the stock market's collapsing because of the subprime crisis?
Yeah, no, not to a certain extent. The stock market is collapsing because the U.S. and the global financial system is in crisis. It's in a greater crisis than it has been since 1929, and that's according to John Thames, CEO of Merrill Lynch and a Republican all his life. So this is about much more than what's going to happen on the tax rates that the wealthiest Americans pay. Having said that, I do think that we've had some strong signals from Obama and his economic team that they are reconsidering whether right now, as America is heading into a recession, is the right time to raise taxes on anybody at all, even the wealthiest Americans.
Okay, David, I know you disagree with that. You say raising taxes on the rich will actually help the economy right now, help the government raise revenue at this critical time. Explain.
Well, we have a history of knowing that when you raise taxes on the very wealthy and you use it for spending and economic stimulus, that can build the economy. That's what happened in 1993 when President Clinton came into office. So Grover's argument...
Okay, so wait, I want to stop you there. You're saying that Clinton raising taxes actually resulted in stronger GDP growth?
What I'm saying is that the entire economic package that he presented did, and the entire economic package was in part funded with a tax increase on the wealthy in order to spur the kind of spending and stimulus that needed to happen. The point here is that we need an economic stimulus. We should be okay with some modicum of deficit, but we should also be looking to make sure that the deficit doesn't get out of control to create high interest rate pressure. And I think that we have the history in this country of knowing that if you raise taxes in an appropriate way on the very wealthy, that can create an economic boom. That is what happened only 15
Grover,
years ago.
I mean, I got to stop you there, or rather, David, I'm going to stop you and get Grover in there, because it seems to me that every single study that I've seen shows that higher taxes equals lower GDP. And so you're talking about the opposite effect. Grover, I mean, what are you seeing in terms of studies?
Well, we can look at history. Herbert Hoover raised the top rate from 25 to 75%. That was not terribly helpful. FDR took it up, and the Great Recession turned into the Great Depression for the next 8 years.
FDR created the Great Depression? FDR created the Great Depression.
He extended the Great Recession and turned it into the Great Depression.
I see. FDR created the Great Depression. You keep arguing that, and you keep arguing that the United States House of Representatives at the elections created the climate for the recession right now. You guys are continuing to talk about like you are out of touch with reality. You are completely out of touch with history.
Hey, Chrystia, let me throw this at you. I mean, most of the studies, again, going back to what I've seen, suggest that higher taxes really suppress GDP growth. What have you seen?
No, I think, Trish, we have to be careful when we talk about higher taxes, because actually, as President-elect Obama emphasized repeatedly during his campaign, overall he is actually advocating a tax cut. He just wants to redistribute who is paying taxes, and his view, which I think is more a political view than an economic one, is he thinks income inequality has been rising in America. That is absolutely the case. It's higher now than it has been since the Gilded Age. And part of his solution to that is to say, look, the super rich, people making more than $250,000 a year, should be paying a greater share in the tax burden. I think the debate right now, though, within the Obama camp is something absolutely different, and that is whether, as America is heading into what could be a very deep, very prolonged recession, should taxes be increased for anybody at all. And I suspect the answer that we're going to have from Obama and his economic team is not next year.
David?
Well, the issue here is you have to ask, what is the prudent course of action? Are we risking too much by creating a bigger deficit by not raising some revenues? Or should we not raise taxes at all? What I'm saying here is very clear, is that in the recent history of this country, we have had a very clear example where a past administration saw a recession, saw that prudently raising taxes on the wealthy in order to fund an economic stimulus was something that brought the economy back. We have that history.
The only challenge I would make to David's point, if I may, is I'm not sure history is a very good guide, certainly the history of the 1990s, to the current situation. We really are facing an unprecedented economic crisis, so what turns out to be the relatively benign 1990s might not be a guide.
Guys, let's remember what happened in '93. Clinton raised taxes, the Republicans took the House and the Senate, the stock market and the economy grew after November '94, not the previous 2 years. Only when the Republicans took the House and Senate and cut the capital gains tax, and Clinton's stimulus didn't happen because the Republicans didn't let him waste the money he planned to waste.
You are still making a ridiculous political argument. You are still making a ridiculous argument about which party controls Congress. We have the history of what happened when we raised taxes.
Right, guys. You know, we always can count on taxes to get everyone all flared up. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, David and